Henry.
So one last question, I think, before we then have the Q&A with the audience. Or Siddharth, would you like to take the last question before we open it to the audience?
Yes, Tina, okay. Because it's very important also.
So it'll be time for the audience question answer.
Yeah,
so I'll let you have one last
yeah, the time is running fast. Like, how many students do you have currently in the school? How many pupils do you have?
Well, we're a bit low at the moment, so I think we're about 62, I think.
Okay.
It's been because of COVID, really, you know.
Yeah.
Because we have quite a few children from Southeast Asia who have not returned because of COVID.
So this was regarding, like, as we have heard since long, that this process requires a lot of patience and faith in child's ability, and patience that one day the qualities will bloom up, and you allow all the mistakes, organic mistakes, to happen. You have the realistic world happening all around. But how so it requires time. You have to give organic time, a natural process to happen. But how can we scale such a work? It's a beautiful work which is done by A.S. Neill and maintained, sustained, and grown by all of you after 100 years. How can we scale this? Like, is it possible? And if it is, then how can we do it? The work. How can we replicate such schools?
I think small steps is the most important thing, because as Henry was saying earlier on, you know, most teachers do not have the privilege that we have of allowing their children skip classes and so on and so forth. But there are lots of ways, and I know Henry is working on this, and the Festival of Childhood that Henry is going to talk about may be able to, you know, there are many ways that people can bring things into their classroom. And for me personally, I would suggest that the most important thing is to be a human being. And even in a very conventional school, although you may be frowned upon by other teachers if you're too much a human being, I think for the children to know that you care, that it matters, and that you are prepared to be a human being who scratches their armpits the same as everybody else. You know, I think that's important. Sorry.
Yeah, I think that very strongly, really. I think that the humanistic element, the wonderful relationships, listening to children, understanding a bit more of what's actually happening, you know, the relationships that you're building is something that we're all gifted the ability to be able to do. As soon as you have two human beings together, you can create a wonderful relationship, and treating them with trust and love, and having more of an opportunity for them to be listening to them, and for them to be making decisions, for them to be listening to each other, to kind of be respecting them much more, rather than having this sort of breaking down the hierarchical structures and bits and pieces like that. There's a lot of amazing work that can be done simply when you look at humanity, really, and our attitudes towards childhood. And it does interlink with the Summerhill Festival of Childhood, you know, the sense of unity, you know, the mentalities that we're all having around childhood, and what should be there, what we're sort of feeling are the experiences that children should be having, and creating global unity around that, and practice to help people out, and to be supporting the fact that, you know, there's many people working within state systems that find it very difficult to implement these ideas. And if they come to Summerhill, they look at Summerhill and they go, well, that's a utopia. I can't do that. And I think that you know, that this is now, with the company that we're now setting up called the A.S. Neill Summerhill CIC. It's a community interest non-profit organization, and this is the work that we're wanting to do. We're going to be doing sort of seminars with people. We'll be doing courses for teachers who work in the state system. We'll be helping people start up schools, and facilitating research and things like this, so that we can really start to strengthen ways of actually achieving or looking at what we managed to achieve at Summerhill, and helping people within their own environments, in the home life, in their own communities, within classrooms, within schools.
I just add something.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
I think something else, talking about teachers in mainstream schools across the world. You know, there are problems in almost every school throughout the world now with what people term as mental health. Children are suffering emotionally. And it's becoming to the forefront. You know, 50 years ago it wasn't to the forefront, but now it's very, very topical. And I think the way that teachers in all schools can help to move more towards some of the things that they may aspire to regarding Summerhill will be to, on a management level, in their teacher meetings and discussing with their superiors, if you like, in the school, is to talk about mental health and to explain that there are schools like Summerhill, you can use Summerhill as an example, where because the children are not pushed, because the children are able to play and to take their own time, the mental health issues that are happening in other schools are non-existent. I'm not saying there are no problems at Summerhill, because children bring their own problems, their own emotional problems. That's not the same thing.
But they're not instilled by the school.
Exactly.
The overall thing at Summerhill is we will not have children leaving Summerhill with mental health problems, because
that's important.
So Summerhill can be used as an example. Nobody's saying that all schools will be like that. Nobody's saying that the school that you work in is going to accept that. But to be able to say to them, look, there's 100 years of evidence. This is evidence now. 100 years. We're not talking about some school that started up yesterday. This is a school that's run for 100 years, and it has proven that its methods work. So I think we can all, in our mainstream schools, can all do a little bit of work, as well as working in the classroom towards being more humane and making it work better for the children. But also on a management level, we can be saying, come on, let's do this. Let's make more allowances for children. Let's give them more time to really play. Let's say that, you know, perhaps we can put by one class a day when they can just go outside and play.
And they can be what they are, and they want to be.
Create an hour a day where the children will be really, really bored. You know, we haven't touched on boredom, but that's a really important issue. So there is action you can take, and you all need to be able to do that in your own schools and your own environments. And
I think also another little thing I'll add to it as well is how much of a wonderful environment it makes it. When you alleviate those pressures, and when you start to have those wonderful, beautiful relationships where you're working with it, you're both inspiring each other, you're listening to children, they're listening to you, you're all getting creative, and everything's all kind of, you know, when you're in that environment, it's such a wonderful environment. And it can be in all areas and all schools. But I mean, I've worked with many teachers and people already who have managed to turn their classroom, which is a very hierarchical, very sort of fear-driven, you know, all of these sort of things, and turned them into these lovely sort of areas of sort of working with each other and things like that. And there's schools down the road that's a little that's a state school that has modeled most of its ideas on Summerhill, and it's been there for 20 years. You know, it can be done. It's okay. But I think also on another level, then I think also exactly as what Zoe was saying as well, the world now with education is seeing a problem, and that problem is the mental health of children. You know, the achievement level. We're working really hard to get achievement, success out of our children, and it's not doing anything at all. It's not doing anything for society. It's not doing anything for the children. It's causing a lot of pressure. The mental health and well-being of children is getting worse, and I won't say Summerhill. I will say all of the other wonderful, amazing work around the world that have been inspired by Summerhill, but also working in other ways as well.
Mm-hmm.
They are the answers. This is the answer for the future now. This is the way we need to be moving forward.
Okay. So it's so inspiring, and we are excited to learn more about your that's non-profit organization thing when you talk about your 100-year celebration. But I cannot keep my audience waiting now, so I would like request Tina to open the floor for question and answers for audience. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Siddharth. So I think what we can do is that whoever has a question can either type it in the chat box or can raise their hand, and then we would mute each one of you one by one, and we request you to ask your question. So I think we all already started getting questions in the chat box. So we can start with one. We have one from Sina Seni. Sina, if you can switch on your camera and you can ask that question, or do you want me to read it out? It says here, I think mainstream schools need to have a module that each child understands themselves better. Do you think that it is possible? If yes, what will need to take place?
Sorry, I didn't. Henry, did you get that? I didn't get.
You will be able to read that question in the chat box.
So I'm just trying to where it is.
I think mainstream schools need to have a module that each child understands themselves better.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm happy to answer that to start with. Okay. I think the difficulty is that. I think the difficulty is that a lot of professional people tend to focus on the emotional welfare of the child instead of just treating them like people and being a bit more relaxed about it. So I think it's a very good idea to have an area that children can understand themselves better. But I would be very wary when let's all sit down and talk about you. Let's talk about your problems. How do you feel? You know, I don't like that. It doesn't work for me with children. And in my experience, it doesn't make children happy. So I would be more inclined to just give them that hour to play outside and have fun and be there if they want. If you want to come and talk to me, that's great. I'd love to help you, but otherwise you can just play. So for me, that hour could be better used learning about themselves playing.
Yeah, I think it's better to be able to implement it into the structure, the foundations of the school to a certain extent, rather than having something like a module. Or having a specific area, just because, you know, yeah, exactly as Zoe was saying, you know, talking to children about love doesn't make them understand love. You know, they need to experience it. They need to experience hate to understand love. So, they need to do those. They need to sort of experience bits and pieces like that. So, I think still arguably. The thing that state system schools could be implementing as a school, I would say the most important thing that they could be implementing is more free play time for free play. I think that is arguably the most valuable child development tool in the world. There's no adult could do anything that could actually say anything anywhere near to an hour of free play of children just playing and being absolutely free to do that. But I do think, I will add though also, I do think within classrooms, coming back to the sort of the relationships, the way you actually work with children, again, it's not necessarily that you're teaching something specifically, you're building relationships, you're having conversations, you're creating an environment where they're feeling that not just feeling, they're actually being listened to, and their ideas are being accepted, and they're having more expectation alleviated within the classroom, and to build better relationship. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. We move on to Rishika. Rishika, you can unmute yourself. We'll unmute you from here and you can ask your question. Can you please unmute Rishika?
Harsh?
Harsh, can you please unmute Rishika?
Oh, hi.
Okay.
Yes. Hello.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, hello. I am Premlata Nihalani. And Mr. Henry, you mentioned that teachers here are all calm.
Calm?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, teachers here are all calm. Now, for me, it's a great question that how does this, how and where does this calmness among the teachers come from? Because I have remained a teacher all my life. So, so it's a great question for me, how to balance that, when you step into the school, suddenly you have to, you enter a different environment, a different atmosphere.
Yes, I think a very different, a very difficult element of it, working in a more traditional state, is that as a teacher you have expectation, and this means it's very difficult for you to be calm. And this is something I think, obviously, I would wish that all educational facilities around the world would be able to have this as well, because we don't have those expectations from our teachers. We have an expectation of teachers that they need to be able to follow the need of the child. Now, that's not always easy, and it's not always calm. But I think that something that happens to the learning environment, not necessarily to the teacher or to the child, the relationship that happens, the learning environment,
yes,
when you have the non-compulsion, but also when you have wonderful relationship. And this is why I think it can be implemented very strongly within state systems as well, because actually, when children feel that you trust them and you're there with them, you're helping them, you're supporting them, and they feel loved by you, and they feel that you're actually in a good working environment with them, and you're not just putting pressure on them and having expectation from them and shouting at them and treating them badly. When you create that sort of environment, then it creates nothing but a more wonderful learning environment. And that's why I think I mentioned that it can help to calm. It means that you still have to work hard, of course. and we get that from our teachers as well. They have to prepare for the lessons. They have to, and sometimes having a classroom where you have multiple levels, some children are really easy, some not good. And it's not so easy. But I think the calmness comes from the simplicity of the relationship and the motivation you're having for what you're doing, I think.
Good. Thank you.
I'd like to add something to that. Yeah. I would say that, we talk about Summerhill teachers. We're not talking about calm Zen. We're not talking about, being really really calm man in a kind of yogi or Zen sense. We're not talking about that. We're talking about unflappable. I think that's the word we're thinking about. We're being unflappable. When you're working with children, remember what I just said about the finger, cutting your finger. We need to be calm in the sense that we're not easily roused to flapping and getting in a pickle about things. And I think a lot of adults are not very good at that. Adults are very good at, children come running and going, ah, and the adults go, ah, and then everybody's just going, ah, and that's not a help, When children come running going, ah, you need to go, calm. Okay, it's fine. I'm in charge. I know what I'm doing. It's not a big deal. You've cut your finger. You're not going to bleed to death, I mean, what I will often do myself, and I know that I'm not a perfect example, but I mean, this is what I often do, is I do a little bit of light teasing. I would never humiliate anybody or tease them a lot, but I do sometimes. So we had a girl up here the other day, a little girl of about 8, who told me she's very frightened of sheep. Now, I thought, I'm not sure if I really buy that, to be honest. She's probably not, this particular little girl has probably not had much to do with sheep because she lives in a city. I happen to know that. And my daughter keeps sheep outside my house here. And so we were standing, and the little girl was standing on the gate looking across the field at the sheep. And I came up to her and stood beside her, and I said, we'd better be careful of those sheep. And she knew that I was teasing her. She knew that it was just a little joke, and she was fine. But I was trying to calm the situation. I mean, she wasn't doing anything, but, realistically, why would she be frightened of sheep? So just sometimes a bit of gentle teasing, but as I said, no humiliation or or upsetting somebody, but just a little bit of, oh, come on now, you know. So I think being unflappable is more important than thinking about calm and zen and, you know, being yeah. So I think that's important.
Thank you.
Like Ishani has just rightly said, be unruffled, right? So
yes,
Ishani,
that's right.
Yeah, unruffled.
Unflappable. It's just
unruffled, right? So we unmute Ishani next. Harsh, can you please unmute Ishani? She can ask her question. Thank you.
Hi, Henry and Zoe. First of all, we have a small democratic school in my city, and I've obviously been inspired by freedom, not license, to kind of implement what my vision was and what my imagination was. So I'm eternally grateful for both of you to spread the word and, you know, empower us over here. So thank you. I've been in touch with Zoe over Facebook in the past, I think 1 month or 2 months. I've been messaging her, and I hopefully intend to visit you guys someday. Question that I am, you know, so while I'm working right now, so till now it was all great because, you know, we had like-minded families and like-minded, you know, children who have been raised in an environment, a lot of freedom and non-authoritative environments. And we've been working with the parents simultaneously because it's you know, we are working with 2 to 7 year olds. So we work with the parents as well. So far it was great. But recently we got a child who's coming from a conventional family. You know, so there was a lot of trigger in me because, you know, she was a mirror in terms of how the society treats children. So the things that the little child was saying and the way she was behaving was, I mean, I knew it in my heart that I'm supposed to be accepting and unconditional. And in fact, this child needs far more love than the other children. You know, I knew it all and all, but I was getting so triggered, and I was really losing it, you know. I mean, it was a very, very tough spot. I was aware of the mistakes. I was aware of everything, but it was extremely difficult for me to navigate this situation, you know. I mean, it was, you know, like, I mean, I know I'm, you know, I need to be calm, and I'm typically very unruffled, and, you know, but this child just ruffled me up within like 1 week, you know, of her joining us. So I just wanted to understand your perspectives or your experiences, because you might have obviously had experiences like that. So, yeah.
I think that, you know, it is difficult. And I think that probably what you're talking about, I experience as well. And actually, it's rather anger towards the parents when you see a child like that. You know, you just think, oh, for goodness sake, what are they doing to this child to make them like that? And so it does tend to get you a bit fired up. Again, for me, it would be about remaining, you put the word unruffled on there, you know, being calm, being unflappable, and also not rising to the way the child is trying to wind you up. Because a child, I'm guessing, a child from that background, they try to wind grown-ups up because they play us like violins, you know, they understand people, and they know that in order to get what they want, they have to go through certain behavior patterns, and they will probably achieve that. So I think in your role is to remain calm and not to respond to that. So you may be the first grown-up that this child will have met who will not respond in the way. So you need to be that surprising adult, the one who doesn't respond to what she's expecting you to respond to. And I mean, the only way I can explain to you, again, I've written about it in my new book, but is that, you know, one little girl was at Summerhill, for instance, and she had obviously always been the little princess at home, and she would always come up and she used to kind of go ta-da in front of the grown-ups, and she would start talking to you in a very grown-up, she was about 8, she would come and talk to you in a very mature grown-up way about things, and I actually found her a pain. I didn't like it. I didn't like the way she was doing that. You know, I didn't like this whole, oh, look at me, I'm so good. And one day I said to her, look, actually, I really don't like you coming up and talking to me like that. You know, why don't you just come and chat to me like a normal person? Why don't we just get on with each other and be friends? You don't have to put on an act every time you come up to me because I'm a grown-up. And actually, you know, a lot of grown-ups, the adults that I know in the outside world would have been quite shocked about that. They would have said, you know, how could you speak to a young child like that? I was very careful not to humiliate her. I was very careful not to be offensive, but I said what I wanted to say. And within a little while, she was coming up and she would just stand next to me and we would start talking. We didn't have to have this whole thing. So sometimes there is a moment when you are able to actually look them in the eye and say, look, come on, let's be honest with each other. You know, you're playing me for a fool because that's what you may be accustomed to. But actually, I'm not going to buy it. A little bit like the little girl with the sheep I was just talking about. You know, obviously everybody in her family knows that she's afraid of sheep. I don't buy that. I don't think she's afraid of sheep, and I'm certainly not going to make a big deal out of it. And so, you know, we both know where we are now. Does that clear what I mean?
Makes sense. Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
We have, so Ishani, you'll have to dig deep and find some answers.
Yeah, it can be a very difficult one, and I think from, you know, I was trying to sort of process it myself, and I was sort of feeling that it's very difficult unless we can actually see the child, be with the child, and understand exactly what's going on as well. But yeah, I guess also it depends on how the actual system of the school is working as well. I do think that the sincerity element of it is a very powerful tool to try and kind of gauge, actually gauge where the child is coming from. What is it that they're actually, what is it they're actually doing it for? And I sort of feel that from that perspective, I sort of feel the sincerity is a very powerful part of it, as I was saying. So.
Our next question is from Tanvi Punjabi. Can you please help unmute Tanvi Punjabi? Thank you.
Yeah,
Tanvi,
thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much, dear. Thank you so much. Actually, I am not from any school right now. As a parent, I am asking. My son is 21 years old. So, but that question is later. First, I want to ask you, you said you express your love even when the children are kind of behaving horrible. They are not horrible, but they are behaving horrible.
Yeah.
And we, by natural instinct, we treat people just equal to what they are behaving.
Yeah, yeah.
That separation is the most tricky part.
Yeah.
So could you give actual examples? Say, for example, I'm behaving horrible right now. So how do you express your love at that point? I mean, the actual example, not theory. Practically, how would you talk to me? And if you could do that for a elder age group, I don't know whether it is part of Summerhill curriculum, but if it is possible, it is even better for my understanding personally.
Can I quickly answer that, Henry? I was just going to talk about the meeting. So,
yeah, go on, do that. I'll jump in afterwards. Yeah.
I would never, I don't express love to the children. I don't, you know, I don't go around talking about how much I love you. It's about how I approve of them as a person. So an example would be that if a child is brought up in the school meeting and they've been really out of order and perhaps the mood in the room has been quite angry and perhaps I have expressed a bit of, you know, this is out of order, you shouldn't have done that. I will always make a point within the next 24 or 48 hours of bumping into that child and behaving absolutely normally, as if nothing has ever happened. You know, what happens in our school meeting stays in our school meeting. And I might be annoyed with you, but I will. So if I have a fallout with a child for any reason, not necessarily in the school meeting, but somewhere, and we part on perhaps not particularly friendly terms, I will always, you know, I'm an adult. I can take the initiative. I'm a grown up. I ought to be able to do that. So I will just make a point of throwing a smile their way or agreeing with them in a conversation or bumping into them and just passing the time of day, just so that they know that I do still care and I do still approve of them. And it's just about that issue. So I think that's just a small way you can do that. And it's just a way of reinforcing the fact that it was about what you did and not about who you are. Does that make sense?
I didn't necessarily have too much from that, so you pretty much hit it all. Actually, I think that it's very important. It's very important actually to emotionally respond to what you need to respond to the circumstances, and then to go back afterwards. You can then you know, the way you act with the person, the way you are with the person is where the love and the unconditional love can come from. That doesn't mean that you can't be angry with them or that you have to show them love all the time. It's very important, actually, because I think you could actually create very difficult situations that would be very stressful in these sort of circumstances. I'm not... there's lots of, I know that with sort of conflict resolution, there's a lot of different kind of methods that are out there of ways of doing things. I'm very open to all of these things. I sort of feel that sometimes you have to be angry, and it's okay to be angry with someone you love and to express that anger and the disapproval of what's happening. If you feel afterwards, okay, I did it too much, I upset them, you know, the whole point is you work on the relationship, you go back, you show them love, and all of these different things. The whole point is it's the strength of the relationship to a certain extent that allows for the amount of emotional expression to happen. And I think that that's the important thing, really.
Yeah, I would just add to that, you know, that I have had occasions where, you imagine in my role of head of Summerhill, you know, I have had occasions when I have been in a room perhaps with an angry 15-year-old girl or boy who's going through some difficulties with their parents and you know, feeling very angry. And I've had a young girl turn on me and scream at me, you know, and swear at me and say I'm out of order and all that. And I will rise to that challenge, you know. I will raise my energy level to meet with her. I'm not going to sit there and get shouted at by some angry 15-year-old. I'm going to respond to it and say, you're out of order talking to me like that, you know, and I'm behind you, and you know I'm behind you. You're just denying that. And I will argue the case, and I will raise my energy level as high as it needs to be. You know, I can be as angry as a 15-year-old, and it's important that I am. I'm not just a grown-up who's going to sit there passively. She needs me to respond, and I think she wants me to respond. And then it's all out there. We've had a little shouting match. She shouted at me. I've shouted back at her. And then we can get on with the business, really, and then we can move on and get on with what we actually wanted to talk about. So I think it's very patronizing if grown-ups sit there and just, you know, I can take this. You're a teenager. You need to shout at me. No, I don't see why I should be shouted at. You know, why should I let you shout at me just because you're 15 and I'm 70? There's no reason at all. So I think
respectful relationships are built around both elements. You know, you have to be strong and you have to be equal in the relationship.
But you have to, and that goes back to what I was saying before about, you know, being upfront with children and being equal to children. You mustn't treat them as if it's all about the child. It's about me as well, and that's important that you state your case, because if you don't, then you're just a doormat, and the child learns nothing about humanity. They learn, you know, I'm a boss, I'm the one in charge, and I can do as I like, and that's not actually a good life lesson at all.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And me, I hope that answers
your
questions.
Yes.
We have some questions in the chat box.
I didn't hear that.
So, do you really need to have exams? And in Summerhill, do the senior school, when they have exams, they have to give the GCSE exams and all? How do the kids handle the exams pressure?
Henry, you're good at exams. We do it because they have exams to go to.
Basically, from our perspective, you know, because the whole point is we want to support the individual and all of the decisions they're going to move in life and decide in life. We want to be able to have the opportunity to have GCSEs qualifications so that then children can go on to colleges, universities, and whatever else. We have a lot of children actually who go on to universities and colleges who don't take GCSEs because they have wonderful portfolios and other things. But it's very important for us to be able to offer those sort of options. Children generally deal with them quite well. I think that there's a bit of a difference. What we've noticed recently is that the expectation of exams has changed quite a lot. And so there's a lot of work. There's a lot more work now than there was, say, 10 years ago to be taking a GCSE. So we are very supportive with children in the earlier stages, because obviously having the non-compulsion that we have at Summerhill School means that sometimes children, when they first enter the learning environment, they're a bit like, right, okay, wow, there's a lot of work here, and I've got to. So a lot of communication happens with children leading up to them to explain how GCSEs work, how the workload that children are going to need. I'm very, as Zoe was saying earlier as well, about being very realistic with children, to be saying, you know, this isn't just going, you're not going to be able to do this in 6 months. You can't do that. It's going to take 2 years. It might take 3 years. It's going to be a lot of work. And you're going to have to do that work. I'm here to support you, but you're the one who's going to be having to do that work. But generally, you know, we have good marks from kids who are doing GCSEs. Most of our children will go on to college or university. Not all do, and we're glad that not all do. The whole point of individualizing education, as A.S. Neill said, happy street sweeper, neurotic prime minister. So it's really important that we don't sort of push for the success, societal sort of normal kind of success angles. But if a child wants to work hard, and if they have an ambition that they want to fulfill, then we need to be there to support them. So it's much more of a supportive role, I think, which is an important part. But just also, you know, just sort of emphasizing as well because we love the fact that at Summerhill children can come and they can play, and then play with a bit of icing on top, with a bit more play, and then when they're bored of playing, they'll actually start to do some work. And when they get to doing that work, sometimes it's a bit of a shock, that little transition bit. It's like, whoa, oh wow, okay, this is actually a lot of work. But that support and that process is a very important one for us to make sure we can support with. Yeah.
I was just going to add to that, you know, the children are very aware that they've had something special. They've had a real childhood, and I think when you've got that secure childhood under your belt, you feel much more willing to go out and, you know, put your nose down and do some hard work if that's what's required. I was going to say, I'm going to need to go. Actually, I'm diabetic and I need to eat something. So if there's anything special that somebody would like to ask me, I could hang around another few minutes, but I should have eaten 45 minutes ago, actually.
I think, please go ahead, Zoe. We wouldn't want, because we are done with the question answers right now, technically. And we were just going to let Henry tell us about the 100-year celebration and about the Summerhill Festival of Childhood. And after that, we are concluding. So thank you so much, Zoe. We'll let you go. Please go.
I was just going to say, I'm not very good at the chat. So could Henry, could you put my email on there? And if anybody who's been asking me questions in the chat would like to email, it's the Zoe at Summerhill School email. Is that something you could do for me?
Yeah, I'll do it.
So I have an email. If anybody wishes to send me an email to ask questions, I'm very happy to answer. But I just wasn't sure how to put it on the chat. So thank you for asking me. It's been a real pleasure. Lovely to talk to you, and thanks again.
Thank you, Zoe. Thank you.
Okay.
Take care.
Bye, Mom. See you later, Mom.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'd like, Henry, like we discussed, you please let us know about the 100-year celebration that is planned, which has already begun, and it's going to continue right up to August 2022.
Yes.
So tell us all about the special events and all the celebrations which are lined up.
Good. Okay. Well, I think that to a certain extent, the nice thing is it seems to be a bit of an ongoing celebration. Yes. It's not just we haven't got a specific party, and I also think that what we have done is we've tried to make the most of a very difficult situation with the COVID that is happening around the world, and we're trying to stretch the celebrations longer. So we're using the horrible situation of COVID as an advantage to then celebrate for 2 years rather than just 1 year. Yeah, we have all sorts of different things planned at the moment. I'll tell you a few bits and pieces first of all from Summerhill's perspective. One of the most exciting projects that we have at the moment is the building of the A.S. Neill Archive and Research Centre. Oh, there's some interference coming in from somewhere. Okay, no, I think we're good. I think we're good. Yeah, so we're planning to build the A.S. Neill Archive and Research Centre that will be on the grounds of Summerhill School. This will be an official archive of Summerhill School's history, A.S. Neill's work, A.S. Neill's writings, but also the life of Summerhill School, the history of Summerhill and how things have moved, how the creation of Summerhill, but also how community life within throughout Summerhill has changed over 100 years. But it's also going to be a live archive, so it will be bringing new content from what's happening at Summerhill at the moment. So we'll be archiving the processes of Summerhill, the past 100 years and into the future. So it's a very exciting project. And then connected to that is the A.S. Neill Archive, the A.S. Neill Summerhill CIC, which is the non-profit organization that we've just launched. This organization will move into the A.S. Neill Centre and will run the A.S. Neill Centre. And so as I said, we'll be facilitating research projects, disseminating all of the wonderful research around the world that starts to show the wonderful work that is happening based around sort of childhood education, but sort of alleviating pressures and these sort of things. But also supporting school startups and people who are wanting to start up schools and implement ideas. It's not to start a Summerhill, it's for us to help you start your school and to be implementing ideas, supporting with implementing ideas from Summerhill or like-minded places. And then also sort of working with schools in an ongoing perspective. So there might be schools who have been running, state schools that have been running for 20 years or so, and they want to start to implement some of these ideas and to loosen some of the pressures that are being put on in the normal system. So we'll be advising about things like that as well. And then also offering sort of training courses as well, teacher training courses, practitioner, people who work with children and young people, to be assisting them as well. So those are two projects that are sort of ongoing a little bit. We're going to be launching our website. Actually, well, the plan is by the end of tonight, we're going to be launching the A.S. Neill Summerhill CIC website, which will, I'll be able to put the address in the chat in a bit, but it's www.asneillsummerhill.co.uk. Yeah, so that's an ongoing project. Apart from that, Summerhill itself is doing lots of lovely little parties for themselves, which is really nice. We've got a Summerhill birthday party happening. I think at the moment it's on the 8th or 9th of July, and it's just for the kids and for the Summerhill community. So no parents, no world outside. It's just for us. So we're going to have lots of fun games and cakes, and it's going to be a lovely fun day. So that's really lovely. And there's a few things like that. There's a big exhibition that we're going to be doing of artists that's now moved to 2022. And the exhibition will be in the Institute of Education in London. And it will be, almost based around play to a certain extent, creativity and free play and creativity, really. But we're contacting lots of wonderful artists and people who ex-pupils, but also other people as well to do this exhibition. So there's all sorts of lovely fun things there. I'll also tell you about another website called 100yearsofsummerhill.co.uk. This is a website we set up mainly because of the importance that 100 years of Summerhill is having to global education and attitudes towards child rearing and childhood. That we wanted to obviously celebrating Summerhill's 100th birthday is wonderful and lovely, but actually we really want to start to celebrate all of the wonderful and amazing work happening around the world all the time. We're constantly finding new places and new people that we didn't know about who are doing amazing work, really amazing work. And it's not necessarily about specific methodologies. It's about attitudes really towards childhood and the importance of a fulfilled childhood, as I was speaking about earlier, really. So this website, 100 years of Summerhill.co.uk, is really to sort of be bringing everybody together to sort of celebrate the wonderful work that everybody else is doing around the world as well. So we're inviting anybody who has any little projects. You can register to the site. There's a lovely map. There's a place where you can be setting up a project. As Tina mentioned at the beginning, I've got a project of climbing 100 trees. And actually, I'm not doing too badly, but it's I'm about sort of in between the 30 and 40 mark. But the problem is I'm climbing a lot of trees at the moment, and I suddenly started going, wait a minute, how many have I climbed? So I'm running a little bit late on updating information on that, but it's a lovely project. But there's many other lovely projects. There's sort of 100 quotes of A.S. Neill. There's I recommend that you go to the website. It's a really, really lovely website. And everybody's welcome to join in the celebrations and the fun. So this then leads on to the Summerhill Festival of Childhood. Now, this is this was a project that really, again, I've done a lot of traveling. I've seen a lot of places, seen a lot of amazing work around the world happening, and I have been finding it a little bit difficult that a lot of the times people are talking about methodologies. They're saying that this specific practice is what needs to happen, or this, and to a certain extent, I was seeing a lot of segregation happening within that. And so we really wanted to create global unity, really, around the importance of childhood itself. And to think about it more as values of freedom, equality, community, democracy is a lovely one in there as well, sincerity, creativity, free play, all of these wonderful values that all of us share within different methodologies. But we didn't really want to have a situation where we're creating so much segregation of someone saying, no, what I'm doing is best, and someone else saying, no, what I'm doing is best. We wanted to create real unity around the importance of childhood and the importance of what those values are, and the importance of alleviating pressures and expectations from childhood and allowing for more free and fulfilled experience and happy childhoods. It's so the festival is now. There's 2 events that we're now hosting. The first one is on the 30th of September until the 5th of October, which is our online event. This is going to be it'll be a free event, and we are bringing together many organizations and people and musicians and artists and fun and play, but lots of discussions and debates and mentalities around childhood and different practices. Obviously, we have the wonderful Oasis movement who are joining us, who have been friends of mine personally for a lovely long time now. But we have UNESCO joining us with the Futures of Education Initiative. Futures of Education Initiative. We have the Democratic Education Communities. We have AERO. We have the Alliance for Self-Directed Education, and there's many other different organizations from all sorts of different areas of working with children. We have individual speakers. We have people coming to do workshops, and we're inviting all of those things as well. So participants who come will be able to have an opportunity to share in their own timetable as well of what they want to offer. We want to be spreading it as much as to the world as possible, really, and supporting people and getting people to share things, because 5 years ago I didn't know about the Oasis movement, and now I do, and it's really wonderful that this is all that everybody is gaining connected, really. So yeah, so that's the online event. I'll tell you, I keep telling you websites. I've just realized I'm not putting them in the chat. Hopefully we can get these information out to everybody. But www.summerhillfestival .com or .co.uk. It's .com, isn't it? I've now forgotten my own website. If you search for Summerhill Festival of Childhood, our website will come up. And there's lots of lovely information on there as well. And this is all then leading into the idea of us hosting an in-person festival in August 2021. Sorry, 2022. Thank you. Thank you, Tina. Yeah. Yeah, in 2022. Now, just down the road from Summerhill School, we have a lovely location. Yes, that's the website. Thank you. We have a lovely location, and we're inviting everybody from around the world to all come to celebrate with us at Summerhill School. But really, again, it's again about the unity and celebrating together, really. Obviously, the centenary of Summerhill, but the importance of childhood. And it's very exciting so far. We've got lots of lovely people who are really keen to be a part of it all. We want it to be playful. We want it to be artistic and creative. We want it to be collaborative. And we want lots of talks and discussions, and we want to release a report from the Festival of Childhood to put strengthen the word, really. Connecting with UNESCO as well. You know, there's lots of angles to this that are sort of coming together. So we want to invite you all. You're all welcome to the online event. And if there's anything, you can get in contact with us via the website. You can get in contact with us via our Facebook group. Or you can just shout. You can get in contact with us in any way possible. I'm sure you can get in contact through the Oasis movement as well. They're connected as well. So if there's anything you'd like to know, I'm going to tell you about one other really small thing, but it's going to be really fun. So on the 3rd of July, we've just posted this information. On the 3rd of July, we're going to be live streaming a live music performance from Summerhill. It's going to be very silly and very fun. It's going to be funky. It's going to be, you know, you need to get your dancing shoes on. It's a multi-generational band of ex-pupils. I'll be one of the band members, and there'll be quite a few. There's 5 of us in total. And some of the children from the school will be performing as well. And we're going to live stream it on the 3rd of July. So that's another bit of information. But enough about all of our celebrations. We're inviting you all to come and join us and celebrate in your own places all of the wonderful work you're doing to celebrate and join in with us, really. Sorry, Tina, you're muted at the moment.
Tina, we cannot hear you.
You're muted at the moment.
Yes, so thank you so much, Henry. Everybody is excited now with amazing information, and we're all looking for the music concert. Seems like a lot of fun, and I'm sure a lot of people will join in. Yeah. Thank you so much for giving us your time, and we look forward to working together, synergizing towards the same goal, what we have been working towards. And thank you to Zoe as well, and look forward to seeing you soon.
Yeah, well, lots of love to all of you. Thank you to everybody.
Thank you, Henry. It was lovely talking to you. Thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you very much for having me. And I'm sure we'll see each other all soon and be able to hug or something. But lots of love to everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Cool. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much.